Salutations, everyone. I do hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this second bonus. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's second bonus, shall we? Alright folks, so today's upload is actually a really horrific experience that I'm going to deep dive into, share a lot of information about the surrounding area afterward. I kind of want to give you guys a little history on this experience. Back when I started this channel, which was 7 years ago, I had my own personal experience, and like any other person starting a channel, I was scouring the internet to find encounters until I got subscribers and a kind of foundation of people sharing their experiences with me. And I stumbled across a experience back 6 years ago on a website called ar15.com. And the blog post was, "What the hell is Dogman?" And of course there was a lot of, negative comments, like, these people wear tinfoil hats, this, and that. And then there was an experience that I found, and I reached out to the person. His name is Mike. And the encounter just blew me away because it was not similar to anything I had ever heard of, read, experienced myself. My experience is very different than others, and I think a lot of people's experiences are different than others. There are differences. It's not just, this thing came out of the woods snarling and growling, and it was gray and it was muscular and it looked the same as everyone else's. Mine really didn't resemble the underworld Dogman, or werewolf, whatever they were called on that movie. Mine had this Anubis-like head. It was very muscular, but not gym muscular. It was athletic and like living and surviving in the woods would do to a body, This encounter was so much stranger than other experiences, and I'm going to share that with you right now. I also am then going to deep dive into the surrounding area so you can see that it is not just this experience, it's actually the surrounding area of where this happened. And it might be, I hate this word, hotspot. Or it may be just kind of a locomotion area where they kind of run, hunt, go north, come south, what have you. But I'm going to leave that up to you guys to decide. Let's get into it. This post is from October 14th, 2006 at 1809 minutes. Post number 41. Back in the winter of 2001, my youngest son and I were on our way from Boise, Idaho to Medford, Oregon. We had taken a car trailer to his old place in Boise in order to haul his non-running Jeep to his new place in Medford. We hit an area of heavy snow in the southern Cascades right around 2 a.m. It took 45 minutes or so to get down the mountain. We had, of course, been drinking coffee to stay alert. Maybe 25 miles west of the pass, it became obvious that the last few quarts of coffee had to be drained. We stopped at a wide spot in the road near a summer tourist haunt, deserted in the winter. There's a gas station and an ice cream joint on the west side of the road, closed this time of year, and no town or settlement within 30 miles. This is tall timber country and unsettled. Across the road is a small parking area for the ice cream joint. It is paved and about 200 feet wide, maybe 80 feet deep. I pulled in, and as I stepped out with my .45 ACP on my hip, it occurred to me in a flash that grabbing my .590 Mossy would be good. As we walked to the far end of the area, to be well off the road, the hair on my arms and the back of my neck were standing on end. The area directly in front was open with the depth of 50 yards and the width of maybe 100 yards. The night was clear and cold, 8 to 10 inches of snow on the ground, and with the moon almost full, we could see quite well. While standing and taking a leak with my son about 15 feet to my right, I saw, as if springing from the earth in front of us across this open area, 10 or 12 creatures moving rapidly back and forth in sort of a thatch weave pattern. These things, not human men, were close to 7 feet tall, thin, bipedal with long arms, medium length gray fur, and damn fast on their feet. I brought the shotgun up and slid the safety off as my son was drawing his .45. I don't know if I can adequately explain the overwhelming feeling of menace, but here goes. I'd been operating on pure instinct since I had stepped out from the pickup. The rotten feeling hit me in a split second before things arrived. The feeling, instinct, I don't know, was that we were prey and subject to a very bad death, and to be slaughtered and eaten, not a logical process, gut feeling, and massively overwhelming. As they were moving about in front of us, more appeared and mixed among them, all the while running about fast in front of us. My son and I were backing toward the truck. I would not present my back to them, and some of them peeled off right and left in an encirclement movement. They were rolling in fast from the sides now. I could smell and feel their presence. We got to the truck loaded on adrenaline and ready to kill. As we both knew we were in grave danger, we piled into the truck, locked the doors. I had my keys out and ready as my ass neared the seat. I had the engine lit and transmission in gear and the gas pedal mashed in one motion. Adrenaline is great stuff. As we fled, something very close by let out this scream of rage and pain. I believe one or more of that group had gotten really close to us in their pursuit, and I ran over the foot of one of them. Yeah, they were that close. We rolled onto the highway, and I told my son to watch the bed of the pickup as well as the trailer. He already was indexed to the rear with his shotgun. We hauled ass for 20 miles before the feeling of grave danger started to abate. The feeling that nailed us both, as we discussed soon afterward, was one of being prey and soon to be slaughtered and eaten. I am not easily led, and neither believe nor disbelieve all of the Bigfoot ghost werewolf stuff. In fact, I am skeptic. My son was speaking with a coworker about 6 months later, who had grown up in Prospect, Oregon, 30 miles south of Union Creek, where the incident had taken place. He asked Jake if he had ever heard of any strange goings-on in the area. Jake went ashy white and pretty much retold the above tale. He says to avoid that place at night, a family friend, 25-year-old retired police officer, not given to flights of fancy and an excellent observer, had a tale very similar from a year before. I told my wife of this event. Of course, she looked at me at the beginning as though I had developed a third eyeball in the center of my forehead. That was from shock. She did believe me, but did not wish to hear any of the details. She said the tale gave her chills. Me too, as I write this. The hair on the back of my neck and forearms are sticking straight up. I have not gone back to explore, and would not without a large group of shotgun and flamethrower-equipped men with me. Son and I are both sane, sober people, and not taken to hysteria. We were very wide awake as things transpired. We saw and smelled what was there. As a sidebar, neither of us heard footfalls from these creatures. They were silent until I heard one as we were getting the hell out of there. To my knowledge, and I have researched, there is nothing that matches these creatures unless one considers old legends and folk tales of were creatures. To conclude, I have to fall back on Elmer Keith's famous line, "Hell, I was there. Best regards, Mike M." Now, really quick, that post was written in 2006. That is the original post on AR15.com. In 2006, there was very limited information on the internet about these creatures. Actually, hell, 5 years ago, there was very limited information about these creatures. But there is more information now than there was in 2006 and 5 years ago. So what I want to do is I want to deep dive a little bit in that area of Jackson County, Oregon, and share with you some other experiences that people had in that county. Union Creek falls in Jackson County. And let me tell you, there is quite a few. All right, so this kind of feels like that day we did that deep dive into the Great Dismal Swamp. But once again, that experience took place 2001 near Union Creek, which is in Jackson County, Oregon. So we're going to jump a year before. And this happened September of 2000 in Jackson County, Oregon, near White City. It was a nighttime event. While performing a nighttime land navigation course for the National Guard, I was the lead person of an 8-man squad moving through a predetermined checkpoint. I felt that there was something moving approximately 50 meters to the right of our formation through the trees. When I looked in the direction, I observed a very tall creature moving rapidly behind the trees using very long strides. This creature was moving very deliberately, but did not appear to be moving at full speed. The creature continued to move away from my group until it was no longer visible between the forest trees. Nobody else in the group saw the creature, although when asked, the others said that I looked like I was scared. So A year prior, some National Guard during an event has an experience, same county. You'd be surprised at the amount of sightings of bipedal creatures there are in Jackson County, Oregon. This one is just absolutely frightening, the first one that I shared from Mike, because to me it is, because I shared it so long ago, and it was probably one of the first experiences that I had ever shared that involved a firearm. And like I said, I probably shared that maybe 2 or 3 months into starting the channel. So then we'll jump actually to the same year. Actually, we'll do the same season and same year. This experience took place the winter of 2001. Same county, Jackson County. Same town as the second experience with the National Guard. I met up with a friend at his house after work at around 10 p.m. We both gotten off work at the same time and go to his house to hang out. We're outside on his porch near the driveway. We heard the horses across the street in the field running around, which was odd, but I didn't think nothing of it. We heard a turkey squabble, and then we thought a mountain lion was out there. Shortly after that, we heard this loud and repetitive sniffing noise, loud like a large dog sniffing in your ear. After a few seconds of wondering, we went to the edge of the road, made a coughing noise to get a reaction from whatever was out there. Just as I did that, I heard this very loud and aggressive growl. We went inside to grab a rifle and a flashlight. We for sure thought it was a bear or a mountain lion, and we knew it was close. We went back to the edge of the road. The road separates his driveway from the field where the noise was coming from. He shined his flashlight in the direction of the noise in a fanning-type pattern. His first pass revealed nothing, but his second pass, we freaked. There wasn't much light, except the motion detector and our flashlight. With that, we saw the figures of 2 creatures in crouched positions just in front of us on the fence in the field. They were literally 15 feet or so in front of us, their eyes staring right back at us. They were close together on their faces. Just then, one of them stood on its hind legs. At this point, I had moved to the side a little because I did not want my friend in my line of fire, just in case. I had a diagonal view of the creature. I can tell you that this thing stood 7 to 8 feet because the fence was 5 feet tall, and this creature rested its forearms atop of the fence with very little effort. I mean, it could have scaled the fence easily. The other creature remained crouched. I could see their circular-shaped head. They had a shadow because of the light, so their shapes were pretty clear. And we were so close, the measurements of their shadow were not too far off from actual. The one that stood was incredibly large. It was boasting with his chest out, maybe to intimidate us, or for defense. We just stood there for a few minutes looking at each other. I'm asking my friend what he thought it was, and he didn't know. My friend is an avid hunter of all game, and he has never encountered anything like it. We then realized that was weird, and also realized how close we were to these creatures. You could see that the one crouched was smaller than the one standing, so the creature might have gotten defensive and backed up. We were scared, but did not feel threatened. However, the creature could have easily scaled that fence and got us if it wanted. I mean, it was probably watching us long before we saw it. Our fear finally sunk in, and we went inside to look out the windows. We did not see anything else, but the dogs in his backyard started barking about a minute or two after we went inside. Dogs that live in the area always bark due to other animals that wander down the mountain, which is a clear shot from that field where the creature was. I have not been to his house at night ever since, and he has recently moved from that residence anyway. At the time I was a college student and have since did service in the military. I'm a single dad. I have no need to make this up. I am not sure what it was that I saw that night. I know it was not a horse, mountain lion, or bear. Bears do not live in this part of the area. They live in the region, but not here. This part of the valley is far too dry, and their food source is not here either. I've researched the bear population, and the likelihood of a bear entering the area is not. It is not common. What I saw stood like a large man, moved like a large man, and looked very similar to a large man, except being very furry, but was not. This was the first time I have formally reported this. All right, now we are going to jump back some 11 years from the initial experience that I shared with you. Same county, which we're going to say, I'm not even going to say same county anymore. Same county and the same town, very close to that location where the father and son had their experience. Union Creek on a logging road. This was in an area where there was a clear cut on the far side of a ravine, which had a creek running through it. There was a logging road where I was camped. If I remember correctly, there was a sign attached to a tree stating DeWalt number 16. This was a few miles off the highway to Crater Lake and 50 miles from the parking lot at the VA domiciliary at White City. The sound I heard was a loud howl, which I had never heard before or since. It lasted maybe 15 seconds. I could not determine the exact direction. I did not try to discover the source of the sound, as there was thick underbrush. Earlier, there had been cattle in the area, but I have never heard a cow sounding like this. 1978, Jackson County. Town unnamed. Very similar, very, very similar to the father and son one, actually. We had been hearing these things as they came down the ridge to get to the reservoir. It sounded like grunts, howls, and growls, like savage dogs. The guys told me what it was, and I did not believe them. So we hooked up airport landing lights in the back of an old pickup, along with guns and ammo for self-defense, not to harm them, and went down to the reservoir at dusk. When we heard them coming down, we remained quiet until they got into position where we had the lights pointed, and sure enough, there were 4 of them, what appeared to be 2 adults and 2 juvenile on a deer path right across from the gully from where we were set up. It appeared they were eating on a dead deer. When we pulled the lights on them, the 2 juveniles growled and got into a aggressive stance, while the 2 adults got in front of the juveniles in a protective stance. We kept yelling at them and pointed our guns at them, once again not to harm them, until one of the larger ones stepped closer and then turned to the other 3. We thought they were going to cross the creek and come up to where we were, so we ended up taking off. But they did not. He stayed on his hind legs and stared at us while we went down the dirt road. This was not a bear nor a man. September of 78. So 2 large dogmen. I'm not even going to say a female male because I don't know. And 2 smaller ones. Were they a family? I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate on that because I can't, you know. Maybe they're just traveling together. But very strange that right here since 78 to 2001, I've shared, 5 experiences in the same area? Jackson County, Oregon, baby. This is the most recent experience I could find in Jackson County, Oregon. Back in March of 2013, Eagle Point. 2 friends and myself have a favorite spot. We like to go at night and chill, look at the stars, and just get away from everything. We always joked about there being Bigfoot and Dogman in Oregon and around where we live, but now it was getting all too real. We went out there to hang out like normally, and several times before have gotten out of the car and done some strange calls just to see if we hear anything return a call back to us. Never really has there been anything except for coyote. This area we go to is down a dirt/gravel road to a dead end, near 2 big game reserves and about 10 miles outside of Eagle Point City. Upon pulling out to our chill spot, we see dead animals. Pretty sure it was elk. The bodies looked like they had been skinned and gutted, the head and legs ripped off and torn aside. We couldn't find any bullet entry wounds. We shared a picture on our Facebook post, but they had since been taken down. Our friends agreed it was weird because of how much meat was left and several legs still left on the animal. It had been picked apart otherwise. This kill was fresh and did not appear to be for food. No bugs or flies had gotten to it yet. We shined the flashlight, trying to see any eye shine or anything. We got nothing. I also found it extremely weird that no insects were making noise because there was a small creek 75 feet from where we were parked. We got the crazy idea to do some howls. I did one, and about 7 to 10 seconds after, you could hear this screaming howl in the distance. Would say maybe a mile or 2 away, hard to say, in between the mountainsides. I did about 5 more and got the same response to this. We could also hear strange noises coming from the woods that we couldn't identify. On the last one, coyotes howled. That is when we realized that what we were hearing was not coyotes or an owl, but something else. The deepness in that howl was weird and something I've never heard before. I've heard coyote and elk and owl all the time. This definitely was not any of those. We have been up there several times after and have had weird things and never thought about it. Screams, howls, growls. Now is starting to make sense, and my friend is starting to believe and now says we'll never return up there with us ever again. Yeah, probably a smart decision not to go up there ever again. Now, that son had moved to Medford, Oregon. And also, there is not just Dogman experiences that are in Jackson County, Oregon. There are some Bigfoot ones and some ones that go pretty far back. This is actually, I don't know if it's a Bigfoot or a Dogman. To me, it sounds more like a Dogman. but they say possibly a Bigfoot. And it's 1972 Medford, Oregon, which is in Jackson County. I was camping with my parents at a campsite in Oregon near Medford. I was 9 at the time. It was 1972. I remember seeing claw marks on the woman's restroom. There was only us and 2 bikers camping. There were no sounds of any kind. I mean, no birds, no sounds of any kind that day. At night, it was pitch dark, no lights, and still no sound. In the middle of the night, I got up to go to the bathroom outside. I was scared, so I stepped out of the camper door and peed very quickly and backed into the door. I felt as though I was being watched. As soon as I got back into bed, I heard a very loud scream/howl that seemed to fill the whole campsite. The next day I told my brother and said he had heard the same thing. I was so glad to leave. The campsite was known to have Bigfoot sightings, as there is a sign posted when we entered. So there's a sign posted, Bigfoot sightings at a campsite, and we see that quite often in this field, and I often wonder if they put those up as a joke, but as a warning for real. And then they just say, hey, it's just a joke, haha. But it's a warning. The reason why I say I don't know if this is a Dogman or a Bigfoot is because there are claw marks in the wooden restroom for the woman's section. So, I mean, it could be a Bigfoot, I guess. But claw marks to me sound more or less like a Dogman. 2011, Jackson County, nearest town, Applegate. My husband and I were sitting around a campfire with our backs to the lake and facing a hill. We first heard some very distinct howls. A few minutes later, we heard a gunshot. Shortly after that, a large animal started running down the hill straight towards us. It was exhaling very loudly through its snout and moving very fast. It did not sound like it was running on 4 legs. It ripped through the trees effortlessly. I shined my flashlight into the woods in front of us, and it stopped in its tracks, then slowly moved back up into the hill in a different direction. All we could see was a large silhouette of a large animal that looked like it had a muzzle with large pointed ears. Once again, just a silhouette. This is by Tipsu Tea Campground, which sits right on the lake. Why would someone be shooting that close to a campground, though? That's pretty strange to me. But yeah, people do some strange stuff. This is the oldest experience I found. This is from 1940, October, Jackson County, Prospect, town of. Walking across the road on Highway 230, stopped and looked at me and my wife in the truck. I and members of my family have had 3 other encounters within 3 miles of this spot. I know where there is a small ravine, and even in the middle of winter it stays green with the steaming water running at the bottom, with a 4 feet of snow all around it. what we saw that day was a Bigfoot. 1940. Interesting. This one is very interesting because you know what? I think all encounters are interesting. I never get uninterested with encounters. And I've said this before, like when people are like, I don't know if this is good for your channel, or I know it's not this crazy, scary experience. But in my eyes, I think that any experience is amazing and interesting because we are learning something from each, no matter how small it is significant, to be honest with you. This is 2011, Jackson County, White City. Fireman. On the 7th of September, 2011, there were 4 of us. Myself, Marcus, Tim, and Jesse. We broke for lunch at about midnight on the fire line. We were doing mop-up, basically, where you put out the fire so many feet in front of the fire line. We had went in 200 feet into the burn to put out a large log. And when it was out, it kind of killed all of the light. We had lunch on the line together, and in the middle of it, we heard banging out past the log we had put out. Not metal fire tools, but like wood, and it was deliberate. We joked about it, but it left us on edge. We decided to get back to work and not think anything of it. A couple of hours later, we broke again in the same spot, all of us together. And the banging started again, but this time closer and behind us. Marcus got really on edge, and then we all agreed we heard it and didn't know what to do about it. So we went back to work. But we were getting nervous. I informed my boss that I had heard banging, and he smiled about it and said, don't worry about it. Later that night, in the dark, early morning hours, Marcus was sent alone about 600 feet down the trail to drop a lateral hose next to a gated Y on our trunk line. The group was 10 firefighters. As we waited for Marcus, we could see his headlamp down there, and he was under the impression we would come to him, but we were waiting for him to come back. Marcus had broken his shovel earlier with me, so he didn't have a tool. When he came up with a good pace up a steep fire line carrying a stick. He told me later he had heard noises and decided to carry a stick. That next night it was dark as day shift had done a good job to extinguish what was left. And there was a 10-man squad, and we walked down that same line at around 10 p.m. Our line was led by a gentleman named Jason C., kind of a hard ass. But you would never know he was a rookie because of his age and confidence. He, instead of casually saying, hold the line, Jason stopped and said, wait up, there's something in the brush. 10 people stopped and began looking. Here's what I saw. There were multiple sets of eyes that flashed at us as they moved about 60 feet and nothing flat. I'd say they were about 100 feet or less from the line in the green unburned brush. I am 6'3", and it was easy for me to see at least one of them was taller than me by the glow of their eyes. I only saw a blur of color as they moved, but when they stopped, the other eyes disappeared, and I was left looking at one, squatted down low to the ground. We began making noise, and I beat my shovel against the Pulaski I was carrying for the Sawyer, and we began walking toward the set of eyes. They glowed kind of this yellowish green, and they were fixed right on us. Some of the other guys saw them too as I moved in, but I got 40 to 50 feet from it, maybe closer. I realized they were not going to run. We were aware of each other. It looked right into my eyes, but it was almost shapeless black silhouette, just the eyes staring at me. I decided to back off, and our boss said to line up. There are animals in the woods, and for everyone to calm down because it was quickly turning to a state of chaos and people were scared. We lined up and marched out. We did not see any more eyes that night. As night turned to day, we were all the way up at the top division Alpha, where we had lost a containment line and the fire burned the green. As we gridded the containment line, as we gridded it, Marcus showed me what looked like human-sized and shaped footprints over top our boot prints. We showed it to our boss, and he laughed and put his boot in it and said, "It can't be a Bigfoot. Look at my boot fits in it." Indeed, his boots were a 10-inch or size 10 boot, and it fit perfectly, so I guess it was no bigger of a print than what my size 13 foot would make barefoot. Marcus and I noticed more, but kept our mouths shut about it because we had already drawn attention to ourselves, and it was a different boss with us. When we saw the eyes, he didn't see them either. We told him it was a cougar with cubs, but we have all talked since, we were off this fire on Dead Indian Mountain in southern Oregon. For those of us who saw the eyes and saw them drop, we know they were tall and upright, then dropped down low. I will never forget those eyes staring at me like, "I know you are here, you know I'm here. If you want to make something about it, let's do it." Some of us got the impression it was protecting the others by staring us down. I'm glad that I did not get any closer that night. God dang. And this will be tonight's final encounter out of Jackson County, 2005, near Jackson, in Jackson County. We were driving down the highway on our way to dinner when I looked out the window down the side of the exit ramp, where I saw large, man-like, coyote-like things running bipedal into the woods. Very short, very sweet. It was a cloudy day, cloudy night, but still visible. And this teenager was with her parents when she saw it. Interesting. So here's something that, and I really, when I did the deep dive earlier on this location, I knew that there was all of these experiences. And why I wanted to share them like I did was because everyone focuses on this one spot that, has this horrific experience that happened in 1982 or 1983. and has had other experiences. Land Between the Lakes, the LBL. And people talk about it like it's this mecca of cryptid activity, right? But there are other places, Taylor, Mississippi, Jackson County in Oregon. All around the United States, there are places like the LBL that are home to these creatures. And not just Dogman, not just Bigfoot, but all of them. And I just wanted to kind of share that because, I don't mind hearing about the LBL. It's a very interesting place. But when people always just, it's the mecca of, I can't wait to go there. Oh, would you ever camp there? First and foremost, it's huge. The area is huge. I've had subscribers. Nikola Tesla, subscriber on this channel, has gone there. Never had a thing happen. I've had other subscribers, female subscribers that have driven through. Never had a thing happen. Weird feelings, but never nothing happened. But yet then there's these other encounters that have happened. People have reached out to me that live in the area. Donald Coleman Jr. has had things happen. Obviously, Tim Baker. But, there are other spots that are just as full of experiences with Dogman, Bigfoot. Elkhorn, Wisconsin is another place. It's like people forgot about Elkhorn. Elkhorn 8 years ago was like this huge, everyone was talking about Elkhorn and the LBL, LBL's cool, but there's a lot. And the interesting thing about the LBL is there's a lot of historical things about that place, but there's a lot of lore and false lore too, like Hotel California, Vampire Hotel. Well, they say Vampire Hotel was used as a satanic kind of black magic practitioner place. It was a steamboat captain's home that he had built in the 40s. And when the LBL became the LBL, his property was bought out and it just, nature reclaimed it. It was never this, crazy vampire hotel. That's what people forget, is there is lore out there too. There is the real deal, and then there's lore. I find it interesting though. I mean, this encounter that I just shared with you, Mike and his son, to me is freaky as all can be, because he's getting out of his truck, his kid gets out of his truck, and he's like, you know what, maybe I'll grab the shotgun. He had that feeling. He had that gut instinct. And if you ever have that gut instinct, listen to it, because it may just save your life. Him bringing that shotgun probably saved his life if it came down to these things, And another thing, how they tried to encircle them, almost like what happened in my experience. The ambulance, Dan, when they tried to encircle the freaking ambulance, behind him, on the side of him, in front of him. These creatures are intelligent, super dangerous. We're going to end this off with one last experience. I shared it on the live stream, and it reminded me of my experience because, like I said, I've never... My encounter with what me and my friend saw that night didn't look like the atypical Van Helsing, underworld, whatever. It was different. But then people are like, that's a type 2 variant B. Is it? Or is that just a chart created by someone who has never had an experience? I myself believe that these creatures are like humans. We are humans. We all are, James, Dark Waters, and I are both humans. We look completely different. I am not a variant 16 and him a variant type 2 BC. No, we're humans. So why can't these things, you know what I'm saying. But check this out. This experience happened 5 years ago. So some of the memories may be a little fuzzy. Sorry about that. It was while I was still in high school, or the summer of. Me, my parents, and my friends parents often went on vacation together when it was summer. We've been all over, Hawaii, Bahamas, and places like that. But one place was on our bucket list, Egypt, especially mine. I loved ancient Egyptian mythology, but never thought any of it may have been true until this experience. The encounter happened, I think, on the 7th day of us being there. Me and 4 of my friends were all outside of our hotel room in Cairo. We were walking through the streets talking and smoking cigarettes. There wasn't many people on the streets, weirdly. The place we were at was usually crowded. Anyway, it didn't bother us much. We liked the privacy. As we were walking, I heard footsteps, heavy footsteps running towards us. We all looked behind us from where the footsteps were coming from, but there was nothing there, just an empty street. It was strange, but I guess we just waved it off. 5 minutes later, we were sitting on an empty bench. We heard those footfalls again, those same footfalls. And this time, we saw what was making the sound. From where we were sitting, an alley was in front of us, and there was eye shine coming from the thing. I thought it might have been a stray dog because there are lots of those in Cairo. But God, no, I was wrong. As the creature came out, we saw what it was. The moonlight cast just enough light on it. The creature was walking on all fours and was covered in black fur. It was sort of skinny, and its proportions weren't like a dog, even though it had a head that looked like a dog. But not like your classic wolf-type Dogman. This one was like a jackal. It was my first thought when I saw it. I thought it was a jackal, but it was too big. And it had hands instead of paws with large claws. We stared into its yellow eyes for a moment before it did something that made my heart stop. It stood on its hind legs. When standing up, it was even more massive than it already was. If I were to guess, at least 7 feet tall, maybe more. This creature watched us, and we watched it, its head slowly turning to look at each of us. I guess it didn't perceive us as a threat. It seemed more curious. After a while of it just standing there, the creature turned and began to walk off back into the shadows. After that, we all immediately went back to the hotel and sat in silence. I never knew about Dogman at the time, but since I was interested in ancient Egyptian mythology, I thought of Anubis, the Egyptian god of death. And he's also frequently depicted with the head of a jackal. Once I got back to the States and learned about Dogman, it just fueled the belief that what I saw was real. I didn't imagine it. I couldn't have imagined it. Ancient civilizations knew secrets we don't. And maybe it's a good thing we don't know about them. I don't know what I saw, but I hope I never see it again. And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this second bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.